Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
The following presentation is controversial and may be offensive to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Radio from the heart of America now.
And now, the Commander-in-Chief is back. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
Yeah, I'm back, and you're back, and come on into the Oval Office. Welcome back, Gulf Coast. Welcome back, America. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups. Brandon Big B, my co-host, in the studio with me. Brandon, it's always good to have you in the studio. Glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to a rip-roaring show. Dr. Jerome Corsi's on the line, ready to bring him on. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. 2 weeks in a row in the studio. I'm almost going to get used to this.
I know. I would love for you
Appreciate
to get
you
used
sending the private jet up to pick me up today.
No problem. No problem. Well, last week I sent the helicopter, and it's just a little slow.
A little slow,
yes.
I appreciate you sending the jet. That was a little extra expense, but I really appreciate it.
I know.
Yeah.
But listen, you just came from the studio spa a few
Yeah.
months ago. You came from downstairs. You're up here with us now in the studio. It's good to have you with us. JC, looking at JC, giving him the fist pump through the window there, man. Pushing the buttons, turning the knobs, making us look and sound all good and professional. We going out to the world, baby. We big time. Folks, Freedom Friday, Carl Gallup, so glad you're with us. As I said, hang around. Brandon Bigby and I are going to have it for the next 2 hours. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking about everything that there is to talk about. But in the meantime, I can't wait to bring my dear friend, Dr. Jerome Corsi, Jerry Corsi, on the show with us. Dr. Corsi is a Harvard PhD. For years, he was the senior staff writer at WND.com. He's authored a ton of books, including #1 New York Times bestsellers, The Obama Nation and Unfit for Command. His latest book is Partners in Crime. Dr. Corsi, Dr. Jerry, thank you so much for being with us, man.
Well, Carl, it's great to be with you. Thank you.
Well, it's good to have you back. We really need to do this more often. We have so much fun every time we're on the air. We say that, then we just sit around and lie to each other.
Well, I'm happy to come back anytime you ask.
I know, man. And listen, this is going to be great because you are now with InfoWars, and you are now the Washington, D.C. bureau chief with Alex Jones and InfoWars, right?
That's right. It's brand new. Just started in beginning of February, and I'm in the process. We've got to run an office and get everything established in D.C., and we're in the process of doing that. So it'll take a little bit of time, but we'll have everything together pretty soon here.
Right, and that's so exciting because Washington, D.C. is not new to you. Being in and out of the halls of Congress and the White House and all that is not new to you, so that'll be really, really great once you get established with InfoWars. And InfoWars has been a good friend to Donald Trump and vice versa, so I imagine that you're going to be treated very well as soon as all that comes into play.
Yeah, I agree. And, I also like the idea that InfoWars has the live streaming.
Yes.
And has more of a visual content to it. I think that's where, this talk radio is going to persist, but I think the cutting edge is really now live streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, and that's going to be amazing. I can't wait for you to get maybe in that press pool, get your press creds, and get your office up and get started, man. This is going to be powerful, Jerry, for you. Congratulations, man.
Well, I think it's going to be fun. I mean, I've been headed to Washington. I mean, I've been in and out of Washington since I was a kid, and I've done all kinds of things in Washington. Gotten grants when I was in universities, done business in Washington with the agencies, reported from Washington. I mean, I know Washington extremely well and how it works.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to be a reporter there and to run a D.C. News Bureau, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to having you on the show more. We love you anyway, but just especially with you being so entrenched in Washington now, that's going to be great for you. It'll be great for us and everybody that knows you and is affiliated with you. And we've been very close with InfoWars for several years now. My son Brandon, who's in the studio, co-host, he's been in the studios, been in the offices, knows the guys out there. They know him. He's been on television. He's been on radio with them. I've been on television and radio with Darren McBreen and some of those other guys. Darren and his crew, several of the other guys. Brandon,
I've had Owen Schroyer on Freedom Friday.
Yeah.
I've had Rob Dew on Freedom Friday. Darren's been on Freedom Friday. Joe Biggs when he was still with InfoWars. So
yeah. So we're pretty well connected with those guys as well.
I think first of all, I really enjoyed 12 years with Joseph Farah and WND, and there was nothing that was any breakup. It was just simply an offer to get another chance and do some new things.
Sure.
And Alex, I think, has got an exciting whole presence on the internet. He made a big impact with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was on 3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to a kind of a change in venue for myself, and we'll see how it develops. I know Washington's going to be exciting, and I'd say very quickly we'll be established there.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled for you, Jerry. I really am. Well, listen, let's get down to business because, man, I mean, we're seeing things that are unprecedented. This Obama setting up camp in the middle of Washington, D.C., Valerie Jarrett coming into his home, Eric Holder speaking on his behalf, putting out little innuendos, and I'm going to call them threats. Just wait. Something's around the corner. Something's getting ready to happen. We're getting ready to dump information. No. I mean, they're threatening the new administration with disruption and destruction if possible. We've never seen that in the history of our nation. Am I wrong about that, Jerry?
This is the first time. Presidents have always left the White House and let the next president do their job. This is for to stay around and be disruptive. But then, I've always said that Barack Obama was a communist-trained Saul Alinsky community organizer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's consistent with his MO. He's never shown any particular understanding or deference towards the American Constitution or our form of government.
None.
And so everything to him is just a Saul Alinsky class struggle that he wants to intensify to create the fundamental change he was unable to bring about when he was president. And I'm sure it's going to pain him greatly to see all of his great achievements dismantled one by one, because what the Democrats are having a hard time understanding is that they lost.
Right.
They want to blame it on the Russians. They want to blame it on, the great cartoon about the Russians, the dog sitting in the middle of the living room, and, big St. Bernard, the whole living room's furniture's all messed up, and wallpaper's down, the birds out of the cage.
The lamps are broken. Yeah.
Yeah. And the dog says the Russians did it.
Yeah, the Russians did it. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And we've all had dogs that look at you like the Russians did it. I didn't do it.
Right.
It was the Russians.
It was the Russians. Yeah. Well, this is amazing, Jerry. On several interviews I've done, people have asked me just in exasperation over the years, what's Obama thinking? This was when he was president. Why is he doing that? Doesn't he know he's destroying the country? What is he thinking? And I would just calmly wait for the host to calm down, and I would just say, as soon as you can get it through your head that this man is not for us,
no, he's not.
And might not even be one of us, then everything he does makes sense. Am I right, Jerry?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you understand what Barack Obama is about, and I've been writing about Saul Alinsky and his communist roots since I wrote The Abomination in 2008.
Yeah.
And I think everything I wrote in that book has turned out to be true.
Yes.
And what we're seeing is the Democrats just cannot accept that the country's rejected their agenda, and they're not going to come back to the center. I mean, they picked Tom Perez and Keith Ellison, so you got a La Raza radical Hispanic, Tom Perez, who's also communist. We might as well just call them communists. I'm sick of calling them socialists. I mean,
yeah. No, they're communists. Yeah,
and most people don't even understand today what communist means. They've so dummied down the schools. But take the agenda of Tom Perez or Barack Obama, put it against the Communist Party of the United States, it's hard to differentiate.
It's the same, yeah.
And, then you got Keith Ellison. Now, he's a black Muslim from the Nation of Islam, first Muslim elected to Congress. And, again, far, far left. And these are the two guys who are going to be running the Democratic Party. They're going to be marginalizing themselves and their behavior. I mean, this behavior this week with Jeff Sessions, he had a meeting with the Russians, and so therefore he's in on the plot. How could the Russians have done anything to impact the U.S. election? I mean, okay, so they say that they stole the Podesta tapes, or emails. Assange said that he didn't get them from Russia.
That's right.
And besides that, the problem isn't who got them; it's what Podesta wrote in
That's
them.
right. It's what's in them. That's right.
I mean, they finally got exposed for the communists and criminals that they are in these emails, including Podesta taking stock from Russia through a Cayman, Panama Islands setup shell in the Netherlands, and then hiding it off by transferring the stock to his daughter in California. That's all in the WikiLeaks. Hillary Clinton getting paid, all in the WikiLeaks. I mean, it's Hillary and Podesta who are on the payroll of Putin. It doesn't have anything to do with George W. Bush or Donald J. Trump or anybody else in the Republican Party.
Yeah. Jerry, I was just saying,
you go ahead,
Dr.
Brandon.
Corsi, this is Brandon, but it just amazes me because it's the same tactic over and over again of the left, the communists, the socialists, whatever we want to call them, the idiots, whatever they're involved in. They simply point the finger back at the other party and accuse them of that. And a perfect example is during the campaign trying to twist Donald Trump up with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
While it's the Clintons who were back and forth to Orgy Island on the jet, but yet they point the finger at Trump.
I know. Jerry?
Well, today all day long, what's been going on in Washington is that now it's clear they've found pictures of Chuck E. Schumer.
I'm looking at it.
Putin
Yeah.
eating ice cream in New York City, and Nancy Pelosi and all these meetings.
Medvedev. She's sitting right across the table
And the
from him.
Russian ambassador sitting right there.
Yeah.
I mean, and this Russian ambassador's been meeting everybody in Washington. Well, why shouldn't he? He's the ambassador.
Right.
Yeah, and that is job. Yeah.
His job. And, the fact that he's concocting secret deals to, intervene in our election and throw them for Trump, the Russians have been praying. Of course, the Russians don't pray. I mean, except not officially, they don't pray.
Right.
But Hillary would have won because they had her blackmailed 17 ways.
That's right.
Coming and going.
Yeah.
They owned her.
Yeah. I know this is amazing. The hypocrisy knows no boundaries. And of course, this argument has been argued out, but I just got to make it again right here. The Russians helped Trump get elected. How? They would have had to have somehow manipulated the Electoral College. That's almost unmanipulative, except for the fact that a lot of it's based on the popular vote. But the popular vote, the Democrats were running around with their chest stuck out saying we won by 3 million votes. Well, then the Russians didn't help Trump at all, Jerry.
Exactly. And when they did the recounts, the Jill Stein recounts in Michigan, the voting fraud they found was in the Detroit Democratic precincts. Where they had
That's right.
more votes cast than people registered, and they couldn't even complete the recount because the Democrats had done so much voting fraud that the whole thing was a farce. They just went, maybe changed 20 votes. The Democrats were doing the voter fraud, and if anybody's in cahoots with Russia, it was the Democrats.
Yeah.
And how Russia would have impacted our election is hard to imagine. Because the Democrats have all the propaganda anybody needs. Russian propaganda couldn't add anything to what the Democrats already had going.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing, Jerry. Absolutely amazing. Jerry, listen, we're going to take about a 2 or 3 minute timeout. When we come back, Jerry, I want to ask you about this Obama funding Obamacare in what looks like illegal manners out of the federal budget. And you've done some work on that. You've got some good exclusive stuff on it. Will you tell us about that when we come back?
Yes, of course.
Okay, good deal. Folks, you're listening. Freedom Friday. Carl Gallups. Dr. Jerome Corsi is our first guest up. Brandon Big B in the house. JC on the controls. Man, we cooking with grease. We'll be back just a minute after this timeout. Don't go anywhere. We've got a great show for you.
Have you shared a little sunshine lately? You can share it virtually by tagging your social posts with #LoveFL. Or you can share it in reality by inviting friends and family down for a visit to catch some rays with you. It not only brings smiles to their faces, it helps our state's economy. So invite someone you know to Florida and help our state stay sunny. This message sponsored by Visit Florida, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Save money with low prices every day at Grocery Outlet. Quality meats, produce, and more. Prices are always low at Grocery Outlet because we sell at our cost, plus a 10% surcharge added at the register. Save money with low prices every day, plus this week's specials, like the family pack of Blackwell Angus ground chuck, $1.93 a pound. The family pack of Swift boneless pork chops, $1.78 a pound. Blackwell Angus Eye of Round roast, $2.69 a pound. Sanderson Farm fresh fryer drumettes, $2.12 a pound. Bar S Jumbo Franks, the 1 pound pack is 69 cents. The small 3-pack of pork spare ribs is $1.38. And from the produce aisle, russet potatoes, an 8-pound bag is $1.62. You can get low prices on these items and more at Grocery Outlet, with locations at Highway 90 in Pace, at Fairfield Drive at Lillian in Pensacola, and Brent Lane and Palafox in Pensacola. Grocery Outlet, nothing fancy, just cheap prices.
Hi, I'm Ken Brooks with the law firm of Brooks Work & Associates in downtown Milton, directly across from the courthouse. Our firm has been helping the people of Santa Rosa County and the Panhandle since 1960. From family law and criminal defense to probate, estate, Social Security, disability, and juvenile matters, we can help you with all your legal needs. Come see us. We're easy to find in the little blue house on the corner next to the Santa Rosa County Courthouse. Brooks Work & Associates, your hometown lawyers.
Eddie English Company, home of the boat trailer, has manufactured quality trailers since 1994. Eddie English manufactures boat trailers, utility trailers, car transports, box trailers, and pretty much any kind of trailer you need, all guaranteed and warrantied. Eddie English will make custom-built trailers built to your application and your specifications. And of course, Eddie English is the best place for trailer parts and trailer repairs at very good prices. Eddie English Company, home of the boat trailer, on Highway 90 in Milton, 623-4353.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started.
And now, the Commander-in-Chief is back. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
All right, and we are back, Gulf Coast. And from coast to coast and around the world, we're broadcasting out of the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio. You know, on this radio station, Brandon Big B, it's good to have you with us.
Great to be in studio.
And you know, this radio station itself reaches portions of 4 states on the Gulf Coast, just broadcasting by radio, 25,000-watt station. And of course, we've been streaming live over the internet and podcasting for years, and all of that connected to the PNN News and Ministry Network. I mean, we're talked about a lot at WND.com. So people all over the world know who we are, and they listen to us. And we're honored to have you wherever you are from. Jerry Corsi, we're honored to have you in the house on Freedom Friday.
Great, thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, and appreciate the work you have done all of these years. Appreciate the work you're doing over at InfoWars. 2 things I'm going to throw these out there, and then I'm going to hush to give you the rest of the time to talk about them. Number one, we see this deep state thing going on that's unprecedented, but you know, you are the one that really did the lion's share of work up front on the birth certificate thing, and just realized that thing was a forgery from top to bottom. Of course, Sheriff Arpaio, Mike Zullo jumped in for the last 5 years. They've been deep stating it on that, and Mike came up with this brilliant presentation back in December, showing beyond doubt and confirmed by 2 international, document expert companies. Plus, you can see it on video. You can see the forgery, the fraud taking place, building this birth certificate from the ground up, from Johanna Ani's document and probably others onto this template. I mean, the evidence is overwhelming that the only identifying document we've ever had on him is a fraud. And probably that's because he's a total fraud. So don't you think this whole birth certificate thing really is at the foundation of what's happening in Washington?
Well, it's certainly one instance of it. I mean, I think, you've got Jack Kennedy was right. When he said he was going to close down the CIA and break it into 1,000 pieces, he should have done it that day.
Absolutely.
He should have done it that day. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, what I'm finding here with this Fannie and Freddie thing, which I'm 2 mortgage giants, is that Obama realized that they were coming out of 2008 subprime loan problem, that Fannie and Freddie were at risk of failing, but really they were not quite that bad. I mean, they could have continued along with modest help, but Obama, by 2012, when he realized that they were going to be suddenly hugely profitable, engineered, and I'm writing a series of articles on this, to steal the money out of Freddie and Fannie, putting them at risk of actually now failing. And I put that money into Obamacare because Congress would not appropriate the funds for the subsidies, the insurance subsidies needed to keep Obamacare going. So they ripped it out of the mortgage giants and put it over into failing Obamacare. Now, this Fannie and Freddie are critical in the mortgage market for middle-income housing. And what they basically did is said, well, we'll throw middle-income housing to the dogs because we don't really believe anymore in home ownership.
Yeah.
Good old communist principle. We don't need to have anybody owning their own property.
Yes, no.
And what we're going to really be concerned about is making all these low-income people dependent on the government for their insurance. And we need this money for subsidy to do another transfer payment. And they engineered the accounting. I mean, I'm going to publish, I wrote another article that's going to come out next week, which I think is beginning to put it all together, which is that they were happy to have Fannie and Freddie fail because they wanted to give the mortgage market to the Wall Street and the big banks, who, of course, they knew was going to fund Hillary. And they couldn't afford to let Obamacare fail. So in the process, without congressional authorization, the Obama administration doctored the books, changed the rules, stole the money out of Fannie and Freddie. Its capital structure now is dramatically worse than it would have been. It's been very healthy had it been left alone, or the initial conservatorship put into place and the money put in by the Treasury paid off, which could have been about done by now. Instead, Fannie and Freddie are in a weakened capital position. Obamacare is a huge sieve. It needs money all the time and is again broke. And this was all unconstitutional and illegal because the executive branch is not authorized to do its own funding and its own, as it were, taxing.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Jerry. Now, you've done tremendous investigative work on this, and what you're sharing is just it's fascinating. But this is criminal, right? And who knows about it? I mean, is there any talk of investigating this at any kind of congressional level or federal law enforcement level? I mean, who would investigate this?
This is one I've started writing about it. I've started getting experts who are sending me sharing their research with me. Mm-hmm. You remember, I'm the one who caught the HSBC money laundering.
That's right.
And because I was the one who had the files that were given to me from a bank officer, said, here's the money laundering. I'm the only one who took it seriously. I wrote about it up in WND, and that ultimately cost $1.9 billion to HSBC. Mm-hmm. I still think there should have been criminal prosecutions. Well, remember, I've got a pretty extensive financial background. I've worked with banks for 20, 25 years. And so, again, looking at Fannie and Freddie, I really understand what they did. And now with the experts' assistance, I see how the fraud was perpetrated, the financial fraud was done, and what the purpose of it was. I'm trying to explain this to people, but I think it's going to be as big a scandal as the HSBC, maybe bigger.
Wow.
Because this really shows that Obamacare has no chance of working.
Yeah.
You can't save it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was designed not to work.
That's right.
Well, that's right. From the very beginning. And
the way it's put together, it's a bottomless pit.
It is. Absolutely. And Jerry, time is a bottomless pit. We're out of it. We're out of it, Jerry. Listen, I'm going to have you back on soon. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you, man. And congratulations at InfoWars.
God bless and thank you.
See you, buddy. All right, folks.